What's up, volleyball fans? Braden Soprano here, Davis Ransom for another edition of the Volleyball Podcast. And since our schedules are so crazy, we're in just random places all the time. So we're in a random place today. Let's get into last week. What stood out to you? What happened last week?
Well, Torrey beat Cathedral in 4 games, so that was a good win for Torrey. We know Cathedral's a really talented team. And Bishop's still at 8-0. La Jolla won the September Classic. They're playing great. So, I mean, it was a big week, actually, last week for volleyball.
And then some of the games we picked, Scripps Ranch was able to beat Otay last week, was the one off the top of my head. What can we say about that Scripps Ranch team who may or may not be in our top 10 as we get to that segment?
You know, I think Scripps is playing really good volleyball this year. They're back strong. They've always been a strong program. They were down just a little bit over the past couple of years, but Coach Ronnie Greenwood's got them playing real well. They went to the finals of that September Classic tournament, beat some good teams. So, you know, they're on the rise.
But Canyon Crest is a team, based on what I saw, that's going to be a factor in the Open playoff.
Yeah, absolutely. They had to replace one of their really strong setters that they had last year, and they got a sophomore setter, Gracie Wood, who's doing a really good job for them. They also added a newcomer, Margaret McCarthy, who's playing great for them on the left. And they also got, Evie Gonzalez and Olivia Shawi. They just got a really great balanced team. They should be really good come towards the end of the year.
Let's get to our top 10 this week. Let's start from 10 and go all the way up. Classical Academy coming in at number 10. Maranatha at 9. Scripps Ranch at 8. Del Norte at 7. And La Costa Canyon at 6. First thing that jumps out to me, we got a new team in Scripps Ranch. They're in at number 8. Maranatha is playing great volleyball right now. Classical Academy continues to win after a big week last week. Del Norte has proved that they belong with a couple big wins. And then La Costa Canyon kind of dropped. It's not really their fault. They haven't really played anybody. When I mean they haven't played anybody, they didn't play anybody tough. They just hadn't played any games. They've only played 4 games, so it's tough to judge with La Costa Canyon, but I'm sure they'll be up in the top 5 pretty soon.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really interesting because some teams have played up to 17 matches and other teams have only played 4. So at this point in the season, there's a lot of turnover in the top 10, but La Costa's always good, and they've played some tough teams so far. We know they're going to be good all season long.
What can you say about Classical Academy and Maranatha real quick and how they've got to a hot start? And last year we didn't have either of those teams ranked in our top 10, and now both of them are in our top 10 pretty early right now.
Well, Maranatha, Christian, is an amazing story, if you ask me. We played them this weekend in the September Classic, and they literally have 9 players on their team, and they're just killing it. Number 13, outside hitter, Brianna Young, she is the real deal. She can just bounce balls. They set her a lot, and they also got the Buffini sisters, and it's a pretty good supporting cast around them. So Maranatha's killing it. Classical Academy, I knew they would start to continue to improve. They got a stud libero, Carly Stoltz, but really, this kid Hannah Eskis on their team, she went for 20 kills against Fallbrook, 25 kills, I want to say, against another good team up there. That was against Escondido. So, I mean, Hannah Eskis is the real deal for Classical. So both those teams got studs on their team, so I'm not surprised that they're playing well.
Let's get to the top 5 here. Cathedral Catholic comes in at number 5. Another team that's only played like 2 or 3 games. They only have 3 games. They're 1-2, but they played some tough competition so far.
Yeah, Cathedrals, they're good. They just haven't had the matches yet to build up their record. They go into league play here soon, and they should be getting some wins under their belt. They got a really good team.
Canyon Crest Academy, another team that hasn't played that many games. They're 3-4 in the season, but their 4 losses have been out of town. They played a tough Vista Marietta team. What can you say about some of the out-of-town competition they've played and why they're at number 4?
So that's, I think, a smart thing for Canyon Crest to do, to go out of section early, because they're going to get better matches. They get a bunch of those Southern section teams that are really strong, and playing those strong matches at the beginning just leads to playing better volleyball throughout the season. So I think they got a good plan. They get a little beat up early, but then they can, learn from those games and continue playing good volleyball.
Is that something that they did because of just coming short in the Open Division final and then not doing as well in state? Was it sort of trying to build it up early now so you can get your reps for the end of the year?
It might be that. I mean, they're definitely like a program that's right there on the cusp of becoming like a nationally recognized program. So I think them getting some really good competition early is smart. And Coach Haas always has his team playing well, and they're going to be great in this section for sure.
Let's get to our top 3 here. La Jolla coming in at number 3, a team last year that struggled, only had 4 wins, a team that we were high on last year at the beginning of the year before the season started, and then things just kind of fell apart for them. They're back at it with, a lot of talent, a lot of young girls coming back from last year. It looks like Coach Drobick's got things going over there in La Jolla.
Yeah, La Jolla, they won the September Classic. They ran their record up, I think, to 16-1 now. They beat Scripps in the finals. They got a balanced, strong team. I mean, Layla is taking swings on the pin now, so they're able to set her more as Layla Blackwell. And they just have been a balanced, good team that takes care of the ball. And Kelly Drobick, we know she's a great coach. So, I mean, I'm not surprised, but good for them. I mean, they're killing it this year.
Bishop's coming in at number 2, another team that's off to a hot start. They're still undefeated in play, and they beat Crest Academy last week, which is a big win for them. That's why they're at number 2. And then, of course, Torrey Pines number 1. What can you say about these two teams that are at the top of the list?
I mean, Bishop's, when you look at the roster compared to Torrey Pines, you don't see the Division I, players, the huge hammers like Torrey Pines has. But Bishop's plays an error-free, clean style of volleyball, very disciplined. They're on assignment. They take care of the ball. Bishop's is a great team with a great coach, and I'm not surprised to see them up there. I don't think they have the weapons to beat Torrey Pines, but that'd be awesome to see. So you never know.
Hey, that sounds like a lot like what Canyon Crest was last year. Yeah. Very disciplined team, got things done, and they're in the open final against Torrey Pines. So who knows what happens this year. I'm going to give 3 teams. I'm going to give you 3 teams and tell me what they have to do to make the top 10. First one being Patrick Henry.
To make the top 10, they're going to need to beat a team that's in the top 10. Okay, they've beaten basically who they should beat, but they don't have that standout win. It was kind of like San Diego last year, where they had a lot of wins, but they had sort of beat up on teams that they should beat up on. Now, Patrick Henry, I think they can do it, but they're not going to have a lot of opportunities in their league, so they need to probably get one in a tournament or something like that. That's what they need to get in the top 10.
Let's go to the North County. Sage Creek is another good team. Record-wise, they've been off to a hot start. What does Sage Creek have to do as a volleyball club to, be a top 10 contender?
Well, they're going to need to play some more competitive matches as well. They've played sort of a weak schedule compared to some of those top teams, and that's a big deal in Max Preps because they weight that heavily. That comes into our factor here, not as much, but the strength of schedule is key because if you're not playing a tough schedule, once you start playing those tough teams, it's a whole new world, right?
We don't have any South Bay teams in our top 10, but there's 3 South Bay teams that are off to pretty hot starts. Otay Ranch, Eastlake, Mater Dei. What can you say about these 3 teams and how they're just on the cusp?
Those programs are all good. I see Eastlake kind of coming out as the top one. They played a tough schedule early on, and Coach Max got them going back in the right direction. I see them probably being the top just because they have more weapons, I think, than those other 2. But the East Bay, don't sleep on them the South Bay because they're good and they've played some tough matches so far. So I see them being even stronger towards the end of the season.
Eastlake 6-6. They just knocked off Santa Fe Christian, who was in our top 10, knocked them out.
Right.
So look forward to some pretty competitive action down there in the South Bay. Last one. I'm not coming up with a name for you. You're going to give me a team that we haven't talked about that you should be, hey, you know what? We got to be on the lookout for these guys. Putting you on the spot, so it's kind of tough. Let's see what you got.
One of those teams I think that's going really well right now is Mission Hills. Mission Hills has some big kids. They got a strong outside attacker. I think that team could be good. And then also Carlsbad. Carlsbad's got Mackenzie Carnick, who's a hammer on the left, and they got a bunch of big blockers around them. They were almost in the top 10 last year. So I think those 2 are kind of like right there creeping, trying to get into the top 10.
Yeah, and San Marcos for me is another team that's kind of hanging around. We voted for them a lot last year, and they seem to be in almost every top 10 in every sport last year. So look for them on the radar. We watched Mission Hills last year, and they were hanging around. Rancho Bernardo's another team that was hanging around. Absolutely. We got a lot of great volleyball here in San Diego County, and we'll get you all the coverage as usual. Davis Ransom, Brains Apprentice, Volleyball Podcast with San Diego Prep Insider. We'll see you guys next week.